Hello again. We have been discussing how you go about putting together a research paper, and I want to make sure that you understand how to do this in the most efficient um, and best way possible. Okay, because a research paper is something that takes a lot of information from a lot of places and puts it all together. You already know that all of the information that you take from somebody else, whether it appears in your paper in their words or in your words, is information that you have to tell where it comes from. Okay? So on your idea cards, if you put down information exactly as you found it in your in your source, that's a direct quote. I told you to put it on your idea cards in quotation marks. If you took the idea and wrote it in your own words, I told you that's called a paraphrase, but you still have to tell where that information came from, whether it's a direct quote or a paraphrase. It's still somebody else's idea that you're putting into your paper, okay? So you cannot take credit for somebody else's ideas, whether they're in their original words or your words. Again, either way, it's somebody else's idea. And how you show that, I'll show you the next time. But right now, we want to talk about the fact that you've taken a bunch of idea cards, and for most of you anyway, you listed your idea cards, and I told you to make sure you put where the information came from, and you showed me where you got it from. You need all of that, okay? So now, once we gather a bunch of ideas, how do we go forward? What do we do next? Okay, and that's what we want to talk about now. Okay, let's assume you have 25 or 30 or 35 idea cards. Okay, and again, you only want one idea on a card, and you'll see very quickly as we talk about this why you only want one idea on a card. Okay, take all of your cards, all of your idea cards, and spread them out on a table or a big desk or on the floor and start to read through them. Okay. As you read through them, you'll see that what's on one card relates to an idea on another card, and there may be a third card and a fourth card and a fifth card and a sixth card where all of those ideas seem to be relating to the same topic. For instance, let's say that you were talking about some kind of a disease, and so you found a bunch of information about the symptoms of the disease, a bunch of information about the causes of the disease, a bunch of information about the effects of the disease, a bunch of information about the cures of the disease, a bunch of information about treatments for the disease. Treatments and cures I'm viewing as two separate things. Okay, so you have your cards all spread out, you read through them all, and let's say that 6 of the cards that you have down there have to do with the symptoms for this disease. Well, good. Take those 6 cards out of the ones that are all spread out all over the place and put them in a single pile. Okay. Then, I mentioned causes. Okay. So you might have 8 cards that have to do with causes. Fine. Take those 8 idea cards and put them into a pile, where you're collecting just all your causes. Now you have 2 piles: symptoms, causes. Okay, cures. Maybe you have 4 cards that talk about cures. Fine, put those 4 cards together into a pile. Okay, and another pile that talks about effects of the disease. Okay, so you take all of those and put them into a separate pile where you're talking about the effects. You get the idea? The cards that all relate to the same general idea, the same general topic, you put those together into individual piles so that you might end up with 4, 5, 6 different piles. Okay. Then, on, you can do this actually just kind of logically. Figure out what order it would make sense to talk about those major ideas in. Okay. if you're talking about a disease, you're probably not going to talk about the cures first, or you're probably not going to talk about the effects first. You're probably going to talk about the symptoms first, the treatments, all of the things. You do it in an order, probably in the way that if you had the disease, you'd be dealing with those things. Probably, not necessarily. You may have another idea. If you're not talking about a disease, and many of you aren't, then there is going to be a logic to the way you want to unfold the information. But what you've done is, first of all, you've taken your many different ideas and put them together into the major ideas. And now you're ordering the major ideas. Okay. Then, when you think you have the major ideas ordered, okay, write out those major ideas on a sheet of paper. 1, symptoms. 2, whatever, treatments. 3, cures. 4, effects. Whatever order they're going to go in. Okay. Then, okay, so you get that. So, so you line up your major ideas on a sheet of paper. Okay. However many there are. There's usually 3, 4, 5. Sometimes as many as 6, although rarely. But sometimes. And we're only writing a 5 to 7 page type paper. So, you don't want a whole lot of different areas you're going to. We talked about limiting earlier. And you want to go into depth on a few areas rather than be all over the board on a whole bunch of areas. Okay? Okay. So now you've arranged your ideas, your individual ideas by major ideas, and then you've put an order to your major ideas. Okay, now go through that first pile of cards, the first ones that you listed, the ones that you think that would come first, and put the cards in that pile in a logical order. Okay, so if you're talking about symptoms, talk about maybe from the symptoms that might first show until the bigger symptoms or something like that. Have an order to it so that you're going from smaller to worst to biggest. That sort of thing, and all the way along, and then just capsulize each one of those underneath your heading for that main idea on your outline. Okay, because you're creating an outline. Okay, so when you get done going through all your cards, you should have broken things down into the major ideas, and then you should have broken the major ideas down into the individual parts that help make up those major ideas. Okay, what you've done then is created something of a skeleton for your research paper. You've said, this is the order I'm going to talk about all my ideas in, and I already have all my ideas on the idea cards. Okay. Now, something that creating an outline like this does is it shows you exactly where you are. So let's say, you had symptoms and, effects and treatments and cures and all this kind of stuff. Okay. And you saw that under symptoms, you had a whole bunch of information. But under treatment, you had almost none. By looking at your outline, you would know, stop spending time on symptoms. Don't look for any more symptoms. Spend more time on treatments, because you can see that you don't have much there once you lay it out. And again, I'm only using this as an example. You have to use your own topic, but hopefully you get the idea that by actually spelling out your ideas, into the main idea groups, you can see where you have enough and where you don't have enough, and then spend your time where you don't have enough information. Okay, so you've ordered the major ideas, and then within the major ideas, you've ordered the minor ideas and the examples under those. You've basically created your research paper by doing that. All you really do from here is kind of like sentence that stuff out, explain it all, make it flow smoothly. But what we're talking about with outline is really the toughest part of the paper. So I want to make sure you understand how you do an outline, okay? And so, again, you start with your cards, you put them all together into, you separate them all out, and then you put them into your major ideas, You break down those major ideas into the individual minor ideas. You write that stuff out on a sheet of paper. That'll show you where you need more time spent and where you have spent enough time. It will also become clear to you if there is a logic in the order that you're doing things in. Okay, and then that's the backbone of your paper. You're ready to go. Yeah, you want to write an introduction with a thesis statement, and we talked a little bit about that, and there's a sample of that in the book. And you'll have to work on a conclusion, tying it all together. But that's the toughest part of the paper is doing what we just did, because the organization of it all is really the tough part. Okay, so between now and Friday, what's Friday? The 5th, 12th, 11th, 10th of April, I want you to post an outline for your research paper, detailed, as I just talked about with you. Okay, that's going to be one of your assignments. There's going to be an essay along with it too, and I'll spell that out. But hopefully you understand now what it is we need you to do to put together a good research paper. And you'll see once you do this, putting together the actual research paper is simple. Okay? You know where to get me if you have any questions or comments.